Okay, two things we're going to look at, and that is the statute for resisting arrest in Tennessee. And you're asking me, well, why is this such a good statute? Well, it's a good statute in that it can't be used easily by the high and the mighty, the Fellowship of the Finger, that would be police and the district attorney, in making case against the resident and or citizen or prospering working man or woman here in Chattanooga. The resisting arrest statute is widely abused by the officer as a throwaway charge that is to be negotiated away. I think officers routinely use these charges because they know that the victim, the defendant, will plea bargain into submission, and nothing will go to trial. Very few cases, about 3%, go to trial, and that's because everybody, especially if they're African American, especially if they're immigrants or poor or in some way just ignorant of the process, they're ignorant about their rights and unsure how to handle themselves, they will plea bargain for convenience. That the system is set up so that no one has to go to trial. If everybody asked for a trial, in other words, if you asked for a trial and everybody else did too, the system would collapse. It would simply grind to a halt. And the reform would be, we are going to drop the number of charges we file against good American, innocent, non-violent, non-criminal civilians here in the county. We're going to drop by 95% these charges. Okay, we're going to drop the enforcement, and rather than have a 30-person roster published Monday morning at Chattanoogan.com in bookings, we'll have maybe 4. Okay, that'll be, and those will be for real crimes and not for paper crimes. In Tennessee, the resisting statute requires that the person intentionally prevents or obstructs anyone known to be a law enforcement officer, okay, from affecting, all right, and here's what this good person is doing: stop, frisk, halt, arrest, or search, okay? The good person in the uniform or whatever is doing those things, and the person who's being accused under resisting is intentionally preventing or obstructing that person. But here's the key word. All right, guess what the key word is. None of these things matter, and you're free. Okay, you're my listener. You're free to go. None of these things matter if you're not using force. So the use of force in Tennessee means that the law is much, much better than the law in Georgia. The law in Georgia, I'd say, is wicked and unconstitutionally vague. How come it hasn't been challenged as unconstitutionally vague? Well, because lawyers don't care to challenge things. Lawyers play along. The legal guild, whose members are all officers of the court, does not care about justice. By definition, it does not care about justice. And the people who challenge cases, they have to be paid all the way. There's no pro bono overturning long-used statutes like the Georgia Offenses Against Public Administration Article 2, 16-10-24 in Georgia, the OCGA, last updated in 2010. So in Georgia, it's entirely broad, and you just do anything to obstruct or hinder. I mean, without any qualification. Doesn't have to have violence or anything. If you use violence or physical force, in Tennessee, the word is using force. Okay, in Georgia, the operative word for felonious obstruction is offering or doing violence. So it's a felony if you offer or use violence in obstructing or hindering, right? If you don't use violence in obstructing or hindering, that's just misdemeanor obstructing and hindering. Okay, so just beware that in Georgia, you could be charged willy-nilly by an irritable cop, right? A cop who's got too much stomach gas, or a cop who doesn't like you from a previous encounter, or an officer who doesn't like the fact that you're black, okay, or maybe that you're an immigrant, a working man in a plant down there in Whitfield County, and he doesn't like the fact that you've got 6 kids in your car, and you have those because you love your wife and you're looking forward to the future, and you're looking forward to a new life in a new place where there's freedom and liberty, right? That's why you're here. You went through that hell to get here, and now you're here, and he doesn't like the fact that you've got all those kids in the car because he thinks they're all on welfare, right? That cop thinks that, well, we're diluting our Anglo-Saxon heritage, and we've got all these immigrants here who don't speak good English, and he's going to slap you around with an obstruction and hindering charge, okay? Because that's and there's no limit in Georgia. Tennessee, though, has this provision. And as I pointed out to Neil Pinkston, the DA, in a letter, I said, Mr. Pinkston, this is a bogus charge that Officer Wright filed in serving M&R Motors as he apparently does part-time. And here now he's helping the M&R repo man bring this car to the top back of a tow truck in the middle of day and causing a breach of the peace, violating the statute that controls repossessions. That's the repossession statute in Tennessee. And Officer Wright helped a repo man do that. Amazing story, and we have not gotten to the bottom of that. Here again, this is why my heart is heavy, because I have not nailed that down, and we need to do an open records request and see if Mrs. Gray has maybe filed an internal affairs complaint against Officer Wright. Officer Wright has done something that seems amiss, okay? And so Neil Pinkston, as I pointed out to him in a letter, that the girl, Avery Gray's daughter, age 14, dragged screaming from her family's car that was facing repossession, apparently a very lousy car that was leaking transmission fluid and oil all over the place and barely functioned. She was screamingly dragged by her physical extremities from that car by a Chattanooga police officer, surrounded by female police officers who were just lolling about, watching in entertainment Officer Wright do the He-Man stuff at the end of his shift, right? All before the shift ends, you got to have this happen now. We don't have time for legalities, even though legal matters always take a long time and should rightly move at a glacial pace, but not when the officer's involved. No, ma'am, no, sir. This has got to happen on the spot, on the moment. I pointed out to Neil Pinkston that the daughter did not use force, okay? Maybe she was obstructing. Maybe she was preventing the instant satisfaction of the officer, right? In this seeming domestic dispute between man and girl, he wanted her out now, and she was trying to get her goods and effects from the back seat. He told her to do that, and now he was ordering her out, and she is being given conflicting commands and is not moving quickly enough. She was complying the whole time, and the magistrate in juvenile court that threw that charge out said that this is a person who does not need to be in the system, right? What we have with our police industrial complex is the machinery of law, with a new crop of police academy graduates photographed last week here in Chattanooga, sworn officers wearing the blue, to bring people into the machine. The machine has to be fed, and it has to be fed human lives. Human lives are, by necessity, the fuel for the machinery. Think what would happen if somehow we had a 50% cut in enforcement, such as the one I'm proposing, by the proper use of Title 55, the transportation statute, which is being overbroadly enforced against people who are not involved in transportation. That would cut arrests and charges probably by half. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think the machinery wants there to be cut in half the number of Americans and Tennesseans and other people not charged or charged? Does it want that number cut in half of people who are accused by the system? Of course not. Of course it doesn't want that number to be cut in half. It wants it to at least maintain a steady flow. That way, everybody's job is secure. Everybody's sinecure. A sinecure is a job that doesn't produce anything. Everybody's sinecure is maintained. We get our retirement with the state. We get our retirement with the sovereign wealth, the Tennessee Sovereign Wealth Fund that masquerades as a retirement scheme, but is and that's another story. We'll get to that later. But the Tennessee resisting statute requires the use of force. So just so you know, you can't be charged with resisting arrest unless you use force. Okay, if you're just standing, and all right, let me ask you this: what if someone says, "Well, you're under arrest," and you say, "Well, okay, well then take me." Well, please stand up. Well, no, I'm not going to stand up. You have to carry me. Is that resisting? That's not using force. You know, force is the use of a leg or limb or hand or object in hand or head to butt, strike, hit, or in otherwise have a brusque, sharp physical encounter with the body part of a deputy or officer. That's what force is. Force is a strike. Okay, that's what force is. If you just lie limp and say, "I'm sorry, I'm not helping you arrest me. If you want to arrest me, go ahead, take me," and that officer is going to have to get some help to carry your 260-pound overweight body, breathing happily, of course, and your heart beating happily as you watch them do their work to arrest you. Right? You don't have to help them. So what we have here is a question of cooperation. Not cooperating is not using force. Okay, there's a clear distinction. Now, I've not read the case law on that, but I'm going to be willing to propose that simply lying there and letting them drag you is not using force. Okay, that's non-compliance, but that's not meeting the definition of the statute. The statute says using force. Okay, one could argue that in physics, force, even a stationary thing has force. In physics, that's correct. That's called inertia, right? That's called trying to think of the words. Is it density? The density, weight plus size equals density. You are a very dense person, and you weigh several pounds, and maybe a couple 100 pounds, or maybe 250 pounds if you've not cut back on the dining like your wife suggests. But that one could argue that your inert body mass sitting there in your car behind the steering wheel is force itself, because it takes a lot of force to get that lumpy form of you, my listener, to move. Well, that's in physics, that may be true, because a stationary object has as much force as a moving object, because it requires the same energy to get it going, right? Or as it does to get it to stop. Energy is required to move it from inert position to 1 mile an hour, just as energy would be required to stop that thing moving 1 mile an hour to come to a standstill. So force has to be applied to that object to get it to move or to stop or to move faster. But I think legally, force means a strike or hit. Okay, that's what it means legally, not just sitting. Sitting there is not force. Okay, force, again, is kicking or striking or punching or grabbing or scratching or biting the officer. That would be force. Okay, so that's violence and force, but just sitting there is not. So we have a better statute in Tennessee. Now, the question I want to bring up is local economy, and the number is 800-8949, 800-8949. Call me, just go ahead and call me. But the thing that I wanted to get to was local economy and setting of bond. Now, Malik Sanford is the man whom you may know now, was arrested for having fallen asleep. He's a T-Mobile expert. I forgot what kind of expert he is on at T-Mobile, but he has these gigantic 12-hour shifts Saturday and Sunday, and he has like 6 hours between shifts on the Saturday Sunday run, and he hadn't had enough sleep. He was going into his shift on Sunday morning, and he fell asleep at an intersection and got arrested, and he was confounded by the refusal of the officer to give, of any of three officers in three cars, two from East Ridge, to give him a breathalyzer test, because he said, I'm not drunk, I'm not on alcohol, I just fell asleep because I'm exhausted and I'm going to work. Okay, here's this man going to work at the phone company, and is arrested, and he had to pay a bond. Okay, well, why did he have to pay a bond? Now, I looked at the statute on that. It's 40-11-115 in the Tennessee Code annotated, and bond should be zero. Okay, bond, if we have a humane local economy and a just system, bond should be zero for anyone who is going to show up for his hearing. That's the only reason bond exists. And yet, here on the David Tullis Show, 800-8949, 800-8949. Call me. Do call me, 800-8949. There are factors that are local economy oriented. Now, here, and in fact, the definition of the listing of these factors are the same ones that should make you do business with this person. Okay, if you should do business with someone like Malik Sanford on account of these criterion, or criteria, plural, that let the magistrate determine that Malik should be freed, but I think he was under a $1,200 bond because it was on a piece of paper. A Hamilton County magistrate made Malik Sunday morning Sanford pay a bondsman his fee because Malik didn't have it in his account to write a check for $1,200 or whatever it was. It was past $1,000, and instead he had to write a check for $175 for the probably fractionally operated bail bonding company that doesn't actually write a check itself. It has credit, right? It has credit with the county, and the county extends credit to all these bonding companies who make a killing on the fee. And the fee, and the criterion that the bonding company uses to know whether it's a good bet to have Malik Sanford get a bond are the same ones that the magistrate should be using to determine that no bond is needed at all in his case. And these are local economy factors, local economy of free markets. That's David Toulis. That's what I talk about here on the David Toulis Show. And, you can call me. Just call me. I'm sorry I'm so worked up about this, but I've just got a lot on my mind. And then I've got the James Brumlow case in Saudi Daisy, and Chief Jeff Gann has not called me back with my questions about why in the killing of James Brumlow on July 3rd that Justin Whaley has not been charged. He's a man who walked away from a crash in which the chief said the two cars connected, or they somehow got together, right? Whaley in a black pickup going down the wrong way Sunday morning. James Brumlow, father of four, we're in a family of four. Jamie is his wife, dead. No charges have been filed. Charges are pending. How is that? My question to Chief Gann. This is what's really bothering me. Okay, this case in my town in Saudi Daisy bothers me because I don't have the answers, and the questions are pending. And the questions are: is this man operating right now today, running his gun range? Is he operating under Title 55, the driver's license statute, with a license in good standing? That's the question. What is happening in this case? Well, I'm not going to talk about it right now because I don't have enough answers. But that is a case that's pending, and I want to know what's going on. What is happening in this case? And that's why my head is heavy. Okay, my head hurts. David Toulis, my head hurts. Now listen. Why don't you call me and let's make my head not hurt anymore? Okay, make my head not hurt anymore on the David Toulis Show. But all right, here's local economy of free markets. Okay, here is what the magistrate's supposed to look at to let everybody out without having to pay a bond. Everybody who's got a local connection and a local history should be out without paying the bondsman his 10% fee. Right? We have a judicial industrial complex, and the bonding business. The New York Times has exposed this. The bonding business is a racket. It's a racket, and there have been press accounts in past elsewhere in the country where the court system does not require the bonding agencies to write them checks. Okay, if I have a bond for $1,000, and either I write the county court a check for $1,000 to cover my freedom. Or I have the bondsman do it for me I give him $100. So I give him $100, not refundable. That's his profit. Does he write a check for $1,000 to Hamilton County? Does he? Well, I don't know. And so I suspect maybe not. I suspect that these men and women in their businesses have good credit, right? And the county knows it will make good on anybody who skips out. But how does someone know? How does a magistrate know that a customer, a victim of the system, a defendant or an accused, how does that person know that an accused will show up? Okay, here are the qualifications in TCA, Tennessee Code Annotated 4011-115. Release on cognizance or unsecured bonds. Factors considered. Okay, here are the factors that make you, my listener, a valuable man or a valuable woman, and why you, if you're ever accused, should get out without paying a bond at all. Nothing. No thing. Here's what they are. The defendant's length of residence in the community. Okay, if you've been here for a long time, you have connections here, you have business here, a lot of people know you, you have favorite places you hang out, you eat out, you do your business, you have an EPB account, you have a utility account, you pay rent, you've been at the same address. Okay, well that goes on. The defendant's employment status and history and financial condition. If you've been on the job here with a phone company, with a store, with a chain, with a repair business, with an internet service company, maybe you're in the marketing business. If you've been here for several years, Employment status and history. That's another one. Defendant's family ties and relationships. Again, doing business with local people, that means you're supporting that man's family and his relationships, okay? And so that's why I argue for shopping local, loving your neighbor, buying local. That's the local-centric argument of David Toulis here at 92.7 FM, live on Facebook, live on YouTube. And there's more. There is more. How do we know that we can rely on somebody? How do we know that that person will show up for the important dealing in the court? In Hamilton criminal court sessions? No one seems to be let go easily. So we should figure out more about the story. David Toulis, Nuga Radio. Call me, 800-8949, 800-8949. David Toulis, Nuga Radio, now.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A stolen tractor trailer rams a patrol car and officers open fire. This according to the Ringgold PD. Police Chief Dan Milbury telling the press the vehicle was involved in a traffic stop because it was reported stolen. Multiple officers were on the scene when the driver reportedly tried to run them down. No one was hurt and the GBI is handling the investigation. A fiery wreck claiming the life of one Saudi Daisy motorist on Highway 27. Reports say the car careened off the road at 2 a.m. under the Highway 111 underpass. The driver was pronounced dead at the scene. The car engulfed in flames. Cops say the driver was speeding. Rescuers rushed to save a 15-year-old girl who plunged 50 feet into frigid waters at Rainbow Falls. Multiple agencies worked to recover her. Reports say she was awake and alert when she was found. Val St. John for Nuga Radio. News Talk 92.7. Action News now.
Chattanooga weather.
Expect hot and humid weather out there for your afternoon with some sunshine. Can't rule out a stray shower or two, but not much. Tonight, muggy. Could see some late fog. Lows 70 to 72. More of the same Tuesday, 90 to 92 with a few more scattered afternoon showers and storms returning for the midweek. Looking to buy or sell a home? Real Living Southern Realty provides real answers and customized marketing solutions. Serving the entire tri-state area, and check rlsouthernrealty.com for more. And I'm Source 12 Chief Meteorologist Master 4.
Nuga Radio 92.7.
My ex recently hacked my email and my social media, and it really caused me some problems. I changed all my passwords, which helped, but I'm still getting trolled, maybe even stalked. I know it's him. I just can't prove it.
My business, well, it's been broken into twice already. I've got cameras, but that only helps after the fact. I'd rather prevent it from happening in the first place.
Unity One East is your solution to these and many other security concerns. With private investigation, security services, and backed by decades of real-life experience in military and law enforcement, Unity One East is your instant contact for security, investigation, and consultation to help protect you, your family, and your business. No 1-800 number, no red tape, no wait, because Unity One East is local and available 24/7. Reclaim your peace of mind. Call Unity One East, 475-6206, 475-6206.
Call 423-875-3600 if you're looking to expand your professional look of your business. Then consider the vast opportunities that are available when you locate your office with the Rains Group family. Remember, it's location, location, location. And the Rains Group has the location for your professional office. Check out the spaces for lease at Executive Business Park on the Lee Highway. Small or large, we will build to suit your needs with the Rains Group. Call 423-875-3600 for the business professionals with the Rains Group.
Honey, this water tastes weird.
Yeah, it smelled kind of funny in the shower this morning, too.
Well, I asked the neighbors and their water's fine.
If you irrigate your yard, you need to have your backflow device checked every year. A faulty backflow valve can allow pesticides and other contaminants back into the water your family uses every day. Call Keefe Plumbing for checks and services on all your water systems. That's Keefe Plumbing, 622-3178.
I live, work, and play in Chattanooga, the scenic city. But when it comes to my next car, truck, or SUV, I'm Alabama bound. Fort Payne, Alabama, and Landers McClarty Ford. Big city selection of new and pre-owned vehicles with the small town price and friendly service. No, I'm not knocking my hometown, but when it comes to my next ride, I only go to Landers McClarty Ford of Fort Payne. Their selection is huge, Then if I can't find what I want, they'll find it for me with the same low price, same great service, and only a short drive away. And I can go online to look around before I leave the house. Got